This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
So, Tom, that has been a question that several of our listeners have got at us on the McClarty-Daniel hotline about this baseball team in this past weekend. I want to ask you about this upcoming weekend. We heard Dave talk about it this past weekend in Lexington. We heard him talk about it at the Swatters Club yesterday, which I think you were at. Do you think he makes a change in the starting pitching rotation? And when I say change, do we see Gage Wood in the starting lineup this weekend?
Well, good morning, everyone, and always a pleasure to be on with you. I think, obviously, the first time he said something, which was Saturday night, and he used the specific term, Gage Wood is, about to take somebody's job. That's just a warning, and you know that Mason Molina heard that, and Brady Tiger, and I think it kind of sets the expectation. I've got to do better. And so Molina, again, had trouble with control on Sunday, but I didn't get the sense yesterday because we talked to Dave after he spoke to the Swatters Club. You mentioned the thing about Gage Wood. Have you made a decision? He wasn't prepared to do that yesterday. And so it makes me think that, there's been fair warning and they'll look at the matchups. And I think, do you want Gage Wood right-hander versus the Mississippi State lineup on Sunday or Mason Molina left-hander? But even if they stick with Molina, you know that Gage Wood will be the longest guy. And I don't think that would be Friday, but potentially Saturday or Sunday, he could be the longest guy. Now, they could surprise me a little and actually start Gage Wood. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's 50-50 at this point based on what I've heard from Dave Van Horn.
The other big topic that you guys were discussing with him yesterday is the outfield. He mentioned Willis Myers, good defender, hasn't hit that ball that well. Lovich is pretty decent hitter and made some errors this weekend and hold around what they're going to do there. Is it concerning that we're 2 weekends away from the regular season concluding and the outfield is not solidified?
Yeah, I think it is concerning, and you can't say that certain guys haven't had their chances because they have. Mm-hmm. When you think about this, Jason Jones started the year in left field, and then since Lovich, Will Edmondson, and you look around at the DH position, Souza and Jack Wagner, and the backup catchers, various other people have had their shots at DH, and nobody has just taken it. And I thought there was an interesting question yesterday of Dave, which was, have you looked at Wilmsmeyer, what's going on, and, that's kept his batting average down.
Because he was a great hitter, not great, but he was a really good hitter last year at Missouri.
I think 270 at Missouri.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's dealing with extra pressure. I don't know what it is. But Dave said, yeah, I mean, if we knew, we would have already done it because they would love to keep his glove in there. But I think Peyton Holt's the guy who stays in the lineup, okay, no matter what configuration they run.
Yep.
I think Peyton Holt stays in there. And I think it's just going to be a game by game with so many of the other positions, center field, left field, and DH.
Yeah, totally agree on that. Tom Murphy with us on the McClarty-Daniel hotline. After losing the series at Kentucky, Arkansas and Kentucky basically flip-flopped 2 and 3 this week in the RPI. In your estimate, in your opinion, is Arkansas already a lock at this point for a top 8 national seed, or is there still work to do?
Well, probably still work to do. And I heard you mention if you win the 2 Hagen-Smith starts the next 2 weekends and then add 1 or 2 wins on top of that, then I think you're a lock. But, I mean, Arkansas fans are used to Hagen-Smith Friday automatic. But you think back, the South Carolina game, 2-1. Florida game, 2-1. There's just some teams that have held Arkansas down. And sooner or later that could catch up to them. And you just don't want to lose a Hagen-Smith start. I think if you're an Arkansas fan, you look at it like, okay, Dave Van Horn teams always seem to find a way. And that's why I probably feel like they might win the series this weekend, but maybe not sweep. But B, there's enough concerns that have piled up. Team batting average, clutch hitting, hitting with runners in scoring position, runners on base. The length of your starters behind Hagen Smith. There's enough of those issues that have piled up that you do have concern. If things click along, they're top 8, national seed. But the way Mississippi State's playing, Dave is just hoping that having these 2 days off, which would have been yesterday and today, the hitters, they're concentrating on finals and all that. And when they come back, they're going to have a little bit more energy. Because to me, that's the key to unlocking everything, is just to have more guys getting on base and more hits when people are on base.
Yeah, and you mentioned all of those concerns, and they're reasonable, they're valid conversations with the hitting, and to me, the Saturday and Sunday starting. But despite all of that, they're 40-9, and they lead their division. So if this team is ever half as good as the fans seem to think they should be, as close to perfect as some of our callers have thought they should be at this point, they're going to be pretty scary, because despite all those things you listed off, they've won 40 ball games.
It's just amazing. Every fan base's expectations come with what's happened before, what's happened since, where are you right now? And I think it was somewhat cathartic for Dave Van Horn yesterday to stand in front of the Swatters Club crowd, because that's exactly what he said. It was like, it's amazing. Here we are at 40-9, a better pace than last year by 3 games, because they were 37-12 at this point last year, and that was a great season. And yet we're unhappy. We're not satisfied, and that's the truth. Because you just lost a series to Kentucky where some things happened with the pitching, giving up runs that just hadn't afflicted them yet this year. And so in the here and now, there are concerns about clutch hitting and then what the pitching staff did in giving up runs. And until this weekend comes, we won't have any more answers. But after this weekend, we'll have a lot more answers.
Tom, you mentioned the pitching staff. 2 other guys he mentioned, Hunter Dietz and Colin Fisher, both out for the season. And I think we knew about Dietz already. And Colin, he just kind of let you know they weren't going to be starters, but possible bullpen guys. How much of an impact do those injuries have on this pitching rotation?
Well, Fisher certainly would be a guy that when you got into the postseason would have given you some innings here and there. I mean, he could have pitched an inning. He could have been a spot starter if you got to a game 4, that type of thing. So I think his loss has an impact. Dietz, I don't know if they were really counting on getting any innings out of him this year, and he got a couple, or parts of a couple of games. So the Fisher one hurts a little bit, but there's enough depth in that bullpen. That if Parker Coyle can pitch a little bit better, locate better, and some of the other right-handers, that they would have enough depth. And certainly if Gage Wood emerged as a guy who could give you 5 innings in a postseason game, you'd be in better shape.
So the A&M weekend, Tom, has been flexed to television, which I know a lot of Arkansas fans were happy about. Would you like to see the SEC, starting with the additions of Oklahoma and Texas, do this option for all baseball games next year? Because I know there's a lot of fans hacked off that a top 10 matchup was not on television.
Right. I guess they just try to – I can't get into the minds of the executives of SEC Network, ESPN, who want to set that schedule at the start of the year. Certainly, I think they might want to look at all the games in May as being flex. So, that's a question for them. But yeah, I mean, if you say, and I don't really know how all the scheduling goes, but if you set a hard, fast schedule and then teams don't perform like you thought, let's just say LSU was on a lot of TV in May. Well, they're having a down year. Ole Miss having a down year, and it's inevitable. And SEC baseball is just like football. Every team, particularly in the West, thinks they're good enough to get to Omaha and win it all, and they have proven that in recent years. But in the course of a season, things will happen, and some of those teams will struggle, even though they're really good teams.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, to me, we hold the football standard to the other sports. They do a lot of the same stuff in basketball, and I think eventually, once you're working with one television partner in all your sports, which is where we're headed, this will catch up. This will, some of this philosophy, because now with the fiber and the studio facilities and everything you've got on campus at all the facilities, some of that will catch up. Hey, real quick before we go, just quick thought on Cal now up to, 7 signees on his roster. We're a little over halfway there with Thiero coming on. So, I mean, things are starting to become a little more in focus with the future of Arkansas basketball.
Exactly. And it was kind of my thought from the beginning, give them time, have some patience. This will come together. It has. I think Adu Thiero will be a good addition. I think his offensive game still needs a little polish, but he's a strong defender, certainly a physical type of guy who, could finish through contact and that type of thing. And I think will be a top-level defender. And so give him a little bit more time, and I think a competitive roster will be in place.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.